Is ESG in Alabama, or is it just somewhere far away? And what about a guy moving from California to Alabama? Has somebody really done that? And what about in Utah, a non-white classroom? What in the world is that all about?
Welcome into this week's edition of Alabama Unfiltered. It is your favorite podcast. Don't forget you can find us in any of the places where you download podcasts or watch podcasts or whatever it is that people do. Please give us a thumbs up, a 5 stars, all of those kinds of things. Please tell other people about it. Also, remember that we are powered by 1819news.com. Go visit 1819news.com. Sign up for their newsletter and their daily detail. You want to know that, and it'll keep you up to speed on all the things happening in the state of Alabama. Amie Beth Shaver is with me today. Big Al. Well, she hates that because it has something to do with the Crimson Tide.
Roll Tide.
Al is not with us, but Abs and I are here, and we appreciate you being with us. Abs, what's going on? I really like the whole Abs and Al.
You just decided this week that we were going to have nicknames.
I like it.
So
Doesn't it sound good?
What's your middle name? Why can't we?
My middle name? We'll do my middle name. Scott.
What's your first name?
No, I'm not saying. No, it's Jason. I don't have good. Y'all have cool names.
That's a cool name.
It's like Scott.
Don't you guys think that's a cool Jason Scott Beeson?
It does.
JSB. It sounds like a president's name.
But do my first name and then my last name.
Jason Beeson. I see. Yeah.
See, my parents didn't do that. They did Jason Scott. Jason Scott sounds great. Go with it.
Yeah.
And they didn't fully vet it.
Well, so are you like J. Scott Beeson? Like, do you sign
I tried
it
that for
way?
a little while.
Didn't work.
No, I just didn't like. I'm just Scott Beeson.
Did you not try it in the legislature? Like when you're down there, you didn't?
No, it's always Scott Beeson.
Scott Beeson.
And it kind of became that my name was really 2 names. Like folks that we would see, little kids. When I first ran for office, there was a little kid in my community that I had done some construction work for, and they had a yard sign for me when I was campaigning, and it said Scott Beeson on it. So to him, my name was Scott Beeson. It wasn't Scott. It wasn't Mr. Beeson or whatever. It was always Scott Beeson. Scott Beeson.
Aww.
So it actually kind of worked that way. Even when I was in politics, it was always just Scott Beeson. It's like one word. It's like one word in a foreign language.
Well,
but it's not,
it makes sense.
But it's not as cool as Abs and Al. It's like Abs and Al sounds. You got Scott, and then you got Abs and Al, where it's Abs, Al, and Scott.
We could probably make T-shirts. I don't know.
But Abs and Al, it has a cool 2022 kind of thing to it.
It does, especially since the young people.
Oh yeah, y'all
are abbreviating everything. I see that you have.
I have my
handy dandy coffee cup.
I do. It's customized, especially as a gift.
Yeah.
From Al, because she's not here.
That's right. And she loves coffee cups.
And she left her coffee cup because
much.
It's got her name on it, and I'm borrowing it, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, you should.
You think
and we're not telling
her?
Yes, it is. Right now. Don't tell her.
Because she won't watch this because she's not on it.
She won't.
Okay. Good deal.
No, she will watch it because she's faithful and loyal and
she'll
awesome.
say, don't drink on
She's
the program,
awesome.
and you're right in front of the mic drinking and swallowing, and that's a no-no.
That's true. It's a no-no. But you know what? Today, we're going to talk about what's going on in the world. Actually, in Alabama. Did you know that?
Is there anything going on now? Football season?
Yes, football season, but there's something that's more important than football season. Did you know people are actually moving to Alabama?
From where? Because that's what I'm afraid of.
California.
Really?
Yes. Did you see the story?
I didn't think California people would move to Alabama because we don't wear shoes.
We're not very smart, apparently.
Not very smart, not very educated, can't read.
Mm-mm.
I don't even know why you're here.
Look,
all the women are at home, pregnant and barefooted, and you're out, running around. I don't understand.
I'm out, but I want to tell you that also right now in this moment, my computer has decided not to allow herself to get on Wi-Fi. So
did you see that one though?
Yeah,
you just messed up. You called her a her.
Oh, it's a man. No, I didn't.
I know, but you said your computer will not allow herself to be. And there's a new thing from the who does the handbooks. I just saw it today. One of the Associated Press guidebook on you're not supposed to refer to ships, countries, I think cars, other things. You can't call them hers or he's like you used to.
What are you supposed to call it?
They're its. So
that we're just going to become like nothing.
Right. Like if you call your car, nothing. You call your truck Betsy or your tractor Betsy.
Well, my car is PJ. Everybody knows that.
You can't do that. That's wrong. It's because it's sexist or something. And then you call the computer her. Why? Because she has to do all the work. She stays
does
inside.
what she's Wonder
she stays
Woman.
out
Look,
of the rain.
there's my Wonder Woman sticker.
I get it. She's a woman. She's a girl.
Well,
no doubt.
You know what? Thanks to me for bringing that up. I had no idea people. Do they really have that much time on their hands?
Yes, they do. They just started. It's brand new.
That we're not allowed to name anything. We all must become it for the greater good.
Right. That's right.
Sure. Thanks, everybody.
That's what we're doing.
Great.
Look, I care about people, and I don't want you to get in trouble.
No, you don't.
Because you could be somewhere where somebody's kind of snowflakey, and you could say she won't hook to the internet. And then you're immediately written off.
I should excuse myself from that room.
You should probably go protest yourself right now.
Yeah, I should. You know what? When I get to my car is so smart. She is so smart. She probably already has a sign on her car that said, "You big dummy."
Yeah,
Don't say that.
She probably won't even start.
I want to be it.
She'll be on strike.
Who doesn't want to go from being a person to an it? That makes so much sense.
I'm with you. It's absolutely.
Good
well, at least you know.
heavens. Well, now I know. But I'm more excited that someone chose to move to Muscle Shoals. As my shirt says, we have a place in the Shoals.
Did you had the shirt on before you knew about the story?
I had the shirt on because I wear the shirt almost, probably 2 or 3 days a week, like too much. Because they don't make any more of this shirt.
Right.
And I'm very proud of North
vintage?
Alabama. It's
not
vintage.
that you're old enough for vintage.
I am old enough for vintage. I'm a grandma now, and that means I can say whatever I want, and I'm vintage. I mean, isn't 50 vintage?
Do you have candy in your purse yet?
No, I have gum. I always have gum.
Well,
Generally, I have chocolate in my purse.
That'll work.
After this, you know what?
You may be a grandma.
It's going to be my aim in life to keep it. But my grandbaby is so little, she can't have any of the things that
Right. How's she doing?
that Honey can provide for her. Right. She's doing well.
Are you Honey?
I'm
Is
Honey.
that the grandma's name? Why do you okay? There's some mysteries I don't know because do grandmas get to pick their own names?
Well, smart grandmas do.
Okay.
Because if you're like
you don't
me,
want to be Granny?
I don't want to be Granny because I'm not dead.
Granny's not dead.
I'm dead.
I had a great granny. I had 2 great grannies.
Grannies are wonderful, but grannies are wonderful post 80.
Oh, so is that the thing?
50.
Women don't want to be grannies anymore because you aren't old enough to be grannies?
My, like all of our moms pick their names.
Really?
And the first thing, I am not kidding, because we live in the South, the very first thing people asked me once I told them that Emmy was having a baby, what is your grandmother name?
Okay.
You need to establish it early and repeat it often.
So
that
it'll be
she
set
calls
in.
you what you want to be called.
That doesn't sound right.
I could be the OG. I could be the OG, though.
The OG? Mm-hmm. She's going to call you OG? Mm-hmm. Like old granny?
The original.
Oh, I was going with old granny.
Not old granny.
So women get to pick their granny name.
Yeah.
And they pick the grandfather's name too?
Well, Chris picked Doc because that's what he is.
That's true.
But he always had a cool name.
Stick.
It's going to stick.
No, it's not. He's going to be Papa or Papa or something.
No, he's not. He's going to be Doc.
No.
No.
So.
You know what? Then let's place a bet.
Okay.
We can bet.
But y'all got to give me a little influence. I mean, I could work. Little kids love me. Believe it or not. Dogs and little kids.
Speaking of, wouldn't y'all like to know how bus driving is going? I'd say yes.
It's going good.
How many little dumplings do you have in your bus every day?
More than the bus will hold.
Really?
I do.
How many is that? What does that mean?
I'm driving. Okay, so I do 2 different loads every day.
Okay.
So because I do 2 different places.
You know, my husband wants to be a bus driver.
Really?
No, seriously.
It really
He's
is.
wanted to buy a bus since forever.
I have the best kids.
Okay.
It's always entertaining. Yes, it's loud, but sometimes I have like 50 kids on the bus. So all those folks are like,
50?
I can't manage the 25 or 30. I have 30 kids. It's terrible. 50 kids on a bus in the afternoon.
They smell bad too.
Is absolute mayhem. But luckily I drive for the county and they don't have air conditioning on the buses.
Oh, thanks,
so the
county.
windows are open. So all the little stinky kid smell is just right out the windows behind me.
Yeah.
But it so far it's been good. It really, really has. And some people thought that I had the bus that would be just crazy.
Yeah.
But the little kids and I seem to get along. Some of them are super sweet, super nice. They might have little disagreements from time to time. When you have 50 kids trying to find a seat on a bus.
Right.
But it's been good so far.
Is it hard to drive a bus? Because that thing is massive, and I do drive a land barge myself.
They are giant.
I mean, were you a little bit scared?
If you drive a big SUV, you still can't comprehend the bus.
Okay, so
The
it's like
bus,
7 times my SUV.
It is gigantic, and it doesn't turn around. So like if you, it's funny because they have these rules like you try your best never to back up a bus because that's when
So
people
always
can't
go
see.
forward.
Always going forward. Try
Okay.
not to back up. So my route, very first day, I have to back up.
Oh.
I have 2 backups no matter what. And then I have to go by some houses that are being built. So the guys that do the framing and stuff are in their van,
Yes.
and they're parked out in the middle of the road. And on the other side of the road, there's a vehicle that's like abandoned. So you got to squeeze the bus through, go down to the cul-de-sac. There's people who park exactly where the bus has to back up. So
Excellent.
all that was kind of nerve-wracking. Actually, I back up 3 times.
Okay.
3 times every morning, 3 times every afternoon.
How many feet long is the bus?
I don't know. Long.
I would think you math
wanna say
person would
maybe
know.
40 feet probably.
Really?
It's long.
It's very long.
And very big, very wide, very long, and it's not fast. But it's cool. People do see the bus most of the time. There's still some people you're like, how do you miss a gigantic yellow bus? You didn't see me coming? Those people don't see anybody coming, so they're dangerous. But most people kind of get out of the way and all that kind of stuff.
Do they stop when you put your stop sign and flashers out and stuff? I mean, do people try to run around you?
Everybody always, okay, so you're probably saying things I shouldn't talk about.
Oh.
But I try to make sure they can't, where I stop and how I stop.
Okay,
and
that's
for
good.
for the safety of the little kids, really.
Right. I mean, because
So-
you're doing this with your bus.
Yes, the little sign goes out. And I've not had a problem, but people always talk about that people go around.
Yes.
But I do all the things you're supposed to do. You're checking the mirrors, making sure. My kids, believe it or not, they stay right there and wait, which took a few days.
how
Get all the
cute.
little kids off, and then you check everything, say, going back across. It actually has been good. Now, they are crazy sometimes.
I'm sure, especially on Friday
all right,
afternoons.
here's the thing, but I know we got to move on for other stuff, but I figured out a trick. Now,
What
it was
is it?
almost unbearable to start with. So a couple of days ago, they were really, really loud. And I don't mind loud, but I mind the little kid who screams like they're dying.
Oh, yes.
Because I think, oh my gosh, they're dying. I need to stop. Somebody's been, stabbed or jumped out the window. And so I was like, hey, y'all aren't being loud enough. Let's just be as loud as we possibly can be. So for like 20 seconds, they're just screaming to the top of their lungs.
way.
People on the side of the road are like, think something's wrong. I mean, the bus is screaming loud. I'm like, going to plug my ears loud. And they kind of wore themselves out because they thought it was the greatest thing ever. We can scream like crazy. And then they're like, y'all be quiet.
Are you serious?
I am serious as a heart attack.
Did you
It was
learn
great.
that from somebody else?
I've kind of learned it from all the years when I was coaching little kids and stuff who are like wanting to do something like, okay, great, let's do that. And let's just do it till you wear yourself out. And then you're like, this is not fun anymore. So it kind of worked that way.
I appreciate the psychology behind that.
I'm learning a lot.
Well done.
Years in the legislature.
Well,
Works exactly the same as a school bus.
Now, here's what I'd like to talk about the bus, and this is my really very cool transition, is I bet your bus would get a 0 score on the ESG scale.
Probably.
I mean,
Now you're talking about
because
is it the equity, social?
environmental, social governance.
That's it.
Which we all know works so well. But I'm thinking about you and your school bus, and I'm saying to myself, I bet that would get a failing grade from the powers that be who are on their way to ruining
Well, my bus
our
is
world.
diesel powered.
Well, there's that.
Okay.
So congratulations.
Yes. I mean, when I'm driving, I'm like, I'm destroying the climate. That's pretty much what I'm thinking. It makes me happy.
I mean, but did you hear what's happening though in Alabama? Did you see on?
No, we had the show on ESG
Yes.
last week or the week before?
We did.
Right?
And I'm trying
And-
desperately to get my Wi-Fi up, so you keep
Okay.
talking.
We'll see if she can get there.
Come on, API.
And then, so we talked about that, and we talked about how crazy it was that different entities were using this ESG rating, and that would decide whether or not you're a good company to invest in or whatever. And then I happened to have the chief financial officer of the state of Florida on my radio program last week, and he was talking about that because he had been working hand in hand with Governor DeSantis. And they were coming out with that whole press conference or plan to tell everybody, if y'all are doing these things, the state of Florida is not going to invest there.
right.
And I was like, that is a great idea. We talk about it on the show all the
we
time.
did, right.
Why is Florida leading? I wonder what we're doing. I wonder what we're thinking. What are we doing in the state of Alabama? And now we have the state of Alabama cares about. Is that the story you're talking about?
Essentially, yes. And that is, if I could get it to pull up, that would be great. But it's not. And so you really begin to wonder, what in the world are people thinking if they're introducing this into the factors, whatever, for state government, for our everyday lives. But you look at this and you go, who thinks that this is a good idea? Because we can look at the stock prices of the companies who follow this, quote, governance,
right,
put in place by the powers that be, and they didn't do well. We know that it hurts
their
business.
financial returns were not good for their stockholders.
They were poor. Right. And yet what we have, and it looks like this is the case in Alabama as well, that people are not saying, we are not going to do this.
So the retirement systems of Alabama, I guess that was the main group, says, yeah, we're looking at those things. We're looking at ESG factors to decide what we're going to invest Alabama taxpayer dollars, Alabama retiree dollars, Alabama dollars in. And it's kind of disappointing. When you look at a Florida, you would think that the retirement systems of Alabama or whoever's in charge would say, okay, look, we know why they're asking. Florida's trying to avoid this. There's not a good reason. So now my question is, okay, well, who's going to hold the people at the retirement system? It's their responsibility to make sure that state retirees, teacher retirees have a retirement someday in the future.
Right.
They should be expected to get as much return as is legally possible on those investments. I don't want them investing in fentanyl and, in the drug cartels, which I'm sure the return will be great if you could do that. But if they're playing over there in that ESG lane,
right,
then somebody needs to answer for that.
They do.
Because there is so much money in the retirement system, just a small change in return, percentage-wise, is millions and millions and millions of dollars. And they ought not be able to go play ESG with millions of dollars. They owe the taxpayers that money now.
Right.
Do they not?
Yeah, they do. And so even, this brings me to this point, though, or this question. There may be people out there that are going, wait, what is the retirement systems of Alabama? What is that?
Right.
What about for people who don't know what that is?
Well, they've probably never heard of it.
Yeah. Because you see the RSA and you're like, oh, the RSA,
right.
the RSA.
Yeah, there's RSA Tower and RSA
what
Plaza.
What is the RSA?
The Retirement Systems of Alabama. That is what RSA stands for. Mm-hmm. And what happens is there's a retirement system for state employees, and there's a retirement system. I guess you could just like them as funds.
Yes.
And those employees put all their money in a bucket, and the RSA takes that money in the bucket and goes invest at places so that the money grows more than there is. And then that's what they use to try to pay the retirees and their retirement stuff. So if that fails or doesn't do as well as it could, then that means retirees are at risk. That means their retirement is at risk. And last time I checked, when I was still in the legislature, we still had tremendous unfunded liabilities, which means that we know how many people should retire.
Right.
And unless the COVID vaccine takes them out, I don't mean that laughingly, but it's a chance.
Right.
We're not going to be able to pay all those retirements years in the future. So the retirement system really has no excuse for playing around with ESG. They've got to be making as much as they possibly can. But they kind of historically have always been a little bit on the progressive side.
Yes.
Hey, look at us. We're cool too. We want to do what all the New York people do. And there's some of that.
Right.
And I figure they know financially, fiduciarily, it's
right.
not the best idea.
Right.
But there's always a lot of pressure on leaders that in Alabama to be more in line with the progressive movement. Because if you're against that, you're automatically a redneck, a rube, uneducated. So, hey, let's be cool like New York and California. There's some of that. But there should be people really asking questions about, hey, where's the rest of our return? If y'all have been playing off in the ESG world.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I think people, when they realize, especially the people who are paying attention and our readers and our listeners are, but if they understand what ESG is and what government is doing with their money, if they're in that system, should be outraged by it. And they should not let up on the questions they're asking. Because like you said, these are people who worked their whole lives and they're putting their money in it. And now not only are some of it unfunded, but also what are you doing?
Right.
And so then my question is, why are our leaders, people who are in Alabama, whether they're from here or not, why do they insist on being like the New York liberals or the California progressives? Why won't they say, we're not going to do that here?
Right.
This is a terrible idea.
It really is. I think I've tried to think of this a lot of times because Alabama is a very red state, very conservative state. People as a whole are. Oftentimes we don't elect people that are conservative, but I console myself by saying the person running that's not very conservative ran like they were rock solid.
Yes.
Vote for me. I'm a warrior kind of person.
Right.
But there's a couple of different pressures. One is the history of Alabama. They don't want us to appear. They don't want to fill in. You've heard it before. Let's elect somebody who looks good. We don't want the person that looks bad, who might kind of say things that people. Let's get the person that has a good face. Let's make sure they can put a good face on Alabama so they can do whatever it is. I don't know. So there's a lot of let's don't continue the stigma where Alabama's all racist and redneck, et cetera, et cetera. So there's part of that. Then you have a lot of people who are in charge in Alabama who did go to what I call some pointy head schools at times, or they want to consider themselves very educated. That allure of, hey, if I'm really educated, if I'm really smart, I'll be more liberal. That is strong. It really, really is. So they want to prove how smart they are, and the only way they know to prove how smart they are is to be liberal or to sound liberal or have liberal policies. I mean, think how cool it sounds. Oh, we're involved in the ESG investment strategies.
Do you think they take away their Southern accent when they say that?
Oh, surely they do.
Do you know what I'm saying? I mean,
yes,
because you ever
they
hear
try
some
to
of the
say
people
it in a
that
different
talk
way.
out of Montgomery and you're like, wow, okay, so you're Southern. That's fine. This is how we sound. But you just wonder if they're having these conversations, oh, we don't do those stupid things in Alabama. We're, of course, a part of the ESG.
Yes, absolutely.
As you do.
But actually, because saving the planet and making sure that everything's equitable and socially justice, and then those things are so much more important than just the pursuit of a dollar.
Yes.
Doesn't it sound
We're not the
good?
Alabama of the past. We're the Alabama of the future.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what it sounds like when they have that conversation.
Yes. No, it absolutely is.
And
no
also,
doubt.
peer pressure is not dead. I don't care how old you are.
Right.
Right?
Well, let me ask you this, though.
Yeah.
So if you say, and I think this is a small part of it, too. So most of Alabama is conservative, God-fearing, patriotic, red-blooded Americans, men and women that would just, give you the shirt off the back, fight with you to the end for what is right, go to church, the whole 9 yards. I think they see all these people out here that all believe these things, and they want to be different. They want to be above.
Excellent point.
So to be more elite, they have to be the opposite. So they gravitate towards, I'm a little more highbrow. I think a little bit more about things. Y'all just care about money and guns and Bibles. I care about social justice and the climate. I just have to believe there is some of that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because I think they're the same people who still wear their face mask.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Some of them do. I mean,
enjoyed making all of us have to wear it from time to time.
Yes.
Or enjoyed making us stay at home.
I agree with you. There's that group of people that are, look, we're all wretched sinners. Right. But in this area, it seems that it smacks of hypocrisy and self-righteousness. And it seems that it's that same crowd that would still, at the particular sporting event that our children play, still there are a few people in their N95s. And I'm like, really? You must also be an ESG person.
Right.
Because you actually believe that.
Okay, so let me ask you. I saw a thing. I talked about it on my radio program today. I think he's MMA or one of those beat the crap out of you in the cage match.
Which one is that? Do you watch that?
No, I'm not.
I think it's horrible.
I think we should just go on to gladiator games. Just have an island.
Yes.
Okay, Epstein's not using his island. He didn't kill himself.
No.
But take that island, mow down all his satanic, temples and all the things he did, terrible stuff, and put a coliseum in. It's not in anybody's jurisdiction, and just fight it out. And if you win and you're still alive, you get the millions of dollars. We're close to that.
Yeah, we are.
Nobody's dying.
We are.
But it is just, blood sport. But what was the guy's name? I think it was Tate.
Okay.
And I was pointing out that a lot of people always say, even like corruption in Alabama, that it's all about the money, follow the money, follow the money. Now, I get that. That's true. I mean, the love of money. But he's saying that, no, it's just beyond that for these elites, global elites, whatever. It is power.
Yes.
They have all the money in the world. He actually points out they don't need money. They print money. They can just print new magic money to fund whatever it is they want. They don't need that. But it is absolute power. And he was saying that, and think about it, because you probably know some folks that might be like this. The charge they get when they tell all of us we have to stay home.
Yes.
But then they don't have to, because they're the elite. They're in charge. They need to be going around and see what's doing. When they tell everybody to wear a mask, and everybody's wearing a mask, and all the little kids are masked, and then they're not.
Yeah.
Just the unbelievable kind of thrill of, hey, I am so special. I am different. All you must do what I say, but I don't have to. And I think he's absolutely onto something. And we have a lot of that here in the state of Alabama. That viewpoint of, well, we're different than all you Rams out there.
Oh, and there's our name. I agree 100% because I think it is about power. And you do watch these people, and they are very much into, look at me, I am so special. But what I wonder is the people that were made to serve the powerful, in the pictures that you see from either the parties that they're still having and they're making their servants wear. Yeah, and they are servants. Oprah's house, or you look at the Obama's way back when he had his birthday party, or I saw something last week that was in New York, and things that are happening in California because they've decided that masking is just such a genius thing to do. Right. But the elites, you're right, never have anything on. And I would like are being made. Just one time for somebody to say, what are you doing? Right. I'm not going to do this. If you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. Because, and I think that's the insidious thing about it, is that people's confidence was taken away. No more do we have people saying, nope, I'm not going to do it. Because then the shame that falls on you for disagreeing with the powerful people is very heavy to carry. But I do look at these pictures and I'm shouting at them saying, what are you doing?
Why would you be doing this?
Don't put it on or walk out. I know you need a job, but there are plenty of people hiring right now. Also, by the way, though, people are still, and it must feel so good in the hospitals, they're still made to wear a mask.
Oh, I know. Well, our family had an incident a few weeks ago, and we had to go. And
Chris still has to wear a mask.
It just makes no sense.
I would like for the hospital people to say, stop it.
Well, what if the hospital people, the
employees
that this is a lie.
Whole, the employees as a whole are being made to be subservient to whatever that hospital CEO says because of the CMS money from Joe Biden. Right. Except that's ridiculous, because as boosted and vaxxed and masked as Biden and his wife were, and they still got it. COVID. And he got a rebound case. Really, surely somebody should say, okay, we're done. We're done. But it's still that power.
You would think the hospital administrators would, and that's where I put a tremendous amount of the blame.
Yes, I do too.
Because they know better.
Yes.
So there's a lawsuit, I think it's in Maine, where a professor was let go because she refused to wear a mask or whatever. She shows up at some function that's a university function. Maybe it's before she was let go. The president of the university shows up, no mask. And so that's really kind of her sticking point, because after that happened, and she said, okay, well, y'all are trying to make me wear a mask. I'm not going to wear a mask. Show me your data, university or college. Show me your data that says masking works and that we should all wear masks. Just give me the data. I'm a professor. Y'all are all smart people. We're smart people. Just show me the data. And of course they didn't, and fired her anyway. So that's kind of the question for all these hospitals. Show us the data. You and I both know, your husband knows, we all know there was never data before COVID. There was never data nearing COVID. And there's no data now that says masks do anything for respiratory viruses. We all know that. Right. So show us the data. Give it to us. We're about to be 2023.
And they're still masking kids in certain states. It really is unbelievable. But when I look around, even here in Alabama, or I see the sign, because one of our kids had a horrible incident and we had to go, she had to have surgery. And I'm sitting in the lobby because I'm like, I'm not putting this on. Right. And we go to the back and they're like, oh, here, put this on. I'm like, this doesn't work. Right.
But what did they say? Well,
in case they can't track it. We believe that masks work.
Did she
And
really?
It was a dude. And he said, we believe masks work and, you still need to wear this to keep yourself safe and keep us safe. And I'm like, are you still trying to use that line?
Okay.
Are you serious?
So that is different than my experience.
I mean, completely ridiculous. Now, going into
Did he believe it?
I don't know if he believed it. I had to win
did.
him over to even be nice that morning of
really?
surgery.
Okay.
And it was one of those that I'm like,
right.
Okay, whatever. Because they're running around scared to death that the CMS funding is going to be pulled from the hospitals. But all it would take is one or two hospital system CEOs who know the truth, who will not wear a face mask, who run around their office doing their own thing, and then make everybody in the hospital wear it. It would just take one or two of them to say, hey, Biden, we're done.
Right. If you want to cut off all these the folks that need the CMS money, then
you talk about
cut
reversing it, right?
Right.
You're not for those people? Okay,
Right.
well then guess what? We're not for them either. We're going to take our mask off and you're going to have to deal with it.
Right.
So where are you going to send them now?
Right.
It would just take a minute.
Except the Biden administration might actually say we don't care.
Do it. Well, the Biden administration doesn't care.
So my
but it
experience
is power.
was different. Oh, it was. So when we went to the hospital, because I can't help myself, they asked for the mask thing, and I'm like, these things don't work. And the lady said, oh, we all know.
Yes.
But we have to.
Yes.
Now, I was fine with that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with even complying when someone says, I know it's stupid, but we gotta do it.
Yes.
Because that makes me feel better about it. It's the people who believe in it that bother me the most.
Yes.
So I'm not one of those folks that says, well, if you believe it, it's this good. I'm like, no, if you believe something that's not true, I don't think it's good. But I was okay with the... So let's get to where you started earlier. So we've got somebody, there's a news story, guy moving here from the state of...
California.
To Alabama.
Muscle Shoals.
I would have thought that as just like, I can't move to Alabama. So what's the story? What's he doing? How did he get here? How did he choose it?
He fled lawless California.
Okay.
And he was excited that our police enforce the law. It's really that simple. What I'm most proud of, though, is that he landed in a town we love very much, which is Muscle Shoals.
Muscle Shoals.
So a huge shout out to our North Alabama family, Florence.
For being a place that people invite them.
And
So
Muscle
what is good about
Shoals.
Muscle Shoals? What's that Muscle Shoals? You said
Everything's
y'all have a
good
place
about
at Muscle Shoals.
The lake that
Okay,
no one
so-
believes is there. It's the Tennessee River.
Okay.
Wilson Lake. It's not Lake Wilson in all of the maps. Get that right.
Why do we read that? Why do our lakes, or why do we have multiple lakes that are kind of like the same names?
Because we're not very
So we have-
creative.
okay, so we're like Wilson Lake and Lake Wilson.
But yeah, it's
What's
not
the
Lake
one at
Wilson.
Auburn?
Lake Martin.
Okay, and which is in the one over here?
I don't know.
and
We
is
don't go to that one.
Martin
We're not
Lake. There's Lake
Tiger
Martin and
fans.
Martin
We love a lot
something.
of Auburn fans.
Right.
No, but Helen Keller's from Muscle Shoals.
She's a communist.
I know that she was a communist, but
Okay,
she's still from there.
I'm not even sure she was a communist.
I don't think
there's
she was a
conspiracy
communist, but I
theory.
think she was a
No, I think
socialist
she's
in her
a
own
communist,
words.
But I think the person who said everything for her was a communist.
Oh, Annie.
Yeah, because I'm not sure Helen really knew about communism.
I don't know, but I know from some of the things that we've watched a documentary on her. We've been to the little,
Right.
the
little house.
the play about her life,
Right,
which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read some of her writings, and I believe that she believes she was a socialist, but I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you that she was probably very much influenced by the company that she kept.
You ever heard that conspiracy theory?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I have. Because we live in Muscle Shoals, so we need to know about Muscle Shoals.
Right.
You also have the Jazz Festival, because jazz is huge up in Florence, Alabama.
Okay.
There's a W.C. Handy Music Festival
Isn't this
every
where
summer.
Elvis Presley's kind of started?
I don't know that, but what I do know is that the epic Muscle Shoals Sound Studio
Okay.
is there. And the Swampers, who are the backup musicians for the Muscle Shoals Sound, are there. They play at the resort that's up there, the Marriott Shoals and Resort. And there's also, and you need to take your wife, so Lori, let me know when he takes you.
Okay.
There is the 360 grill.
That's the one on top of the building.
It revolves.
That's cool. Is
So
the
we
food-
went for our
I don't care about the
anniversary
view.
and
How's
for
the-
just a
how
girls'
is
night.
The food. That's what I care
Phenomenal
about. Really?
food.
'Cause
Like, we
usually
went
those
for-
really
No.
cool places, the food's like
Went for
this
Chris
big, which I
Shaver's
can't
birthday.
take.
The picture is on my Facebook. He had a filet. He's like, this is probably the best filet I've ever had. We've got friends who are in the restaurant business. That is their favorite restaurant in the state.
really.
Yes. They love it. You need to go. The creme brulee, they don't just give you a tiny little,
The creme
tiny
brulee.
little
Did you hear
creme brulee.
that?
They give you
I
a
just
big
want like a piece of
bowl of
I want
creme
a
brulee.
fudge brownie with ice cream.
They have
I'm
fudge
brownie with
they-
ice cream. You're creme brulee.
But I also can go for fudge brownie with ice cream.
Okay, still. Don't be trying to straddle the
So
fence
what
now.
I'm saying is, for all of you in North Alabama that have been faithful listeners and subscribers, thank you, because we love Muscle Shoals. It is a great place to live and to be from. And I just ended my sentence with a preposition, I think. But Muscle Shoals is great. And so I can see why this man lives there. Why wouldn't he? Why
And
wouldn't he want to live there?
He was happy
He's
because
happy.
we enforce the laws.
Yes, because we actually deal with criminals. We don't let them get away with murder and other horrible things that are going on out in
Maybe we ought
California.
to try to have him on the program where we can
Okay.
just find out what it was like in California. I have some friends who actually moved from
I'll
California.
find him.
And it's kind of fascinating to hear their story. They're a Christian family, and California's like a different country.
It is a different country.
I don't think people realize how different the worldview is, at least around the blue cities. Now, out in the rural parts, probably is very similar to Alabama, but in the blue cities, it's
I
rough.
took Will to California. That was going to be a prep school that he attended out there. We love the people running the school. Great people, good school. But we got out there, we get to the hotel and he's like, can we go back tomorrow? Like literally it is a wasteland. He just that feeling of oppression.
Right.
And it wasn't just because it was dry, or that it was hot. It was just, there's just this feeling in the air that you're like, we are not in Alabama anymore.
Right. We're not
We are not in Alabama anymore. Never mind how beautiful, LA is and parts of it where all the giant mansions are. We can drive through Mountain Brook and see that. And we get nice people. Okay, last, but maybe not last. Did you see this story? And this was on Big Fox about the teacher in Utah. And I will barely touch on it, talking about education because we're back in school. You're driving a bus. Mm-hmm. But essentially, she has a non-white classroom.
No, I missed this completely. So what's the story?
I mean, that is basically the story.
She's
She's happy. She is really...
Oh, there's no whiteness.
So she is celebrating that she has a diverse classroom and that it is a non-white classroom, because ultimately, isn't that the end of CRT and SEL?
Right. We don't want any whiteness.
No whiteness.
So she probably has Hispanic kids, because we're talking about Utah. Well,
yes. I mean, you don't know, but this is Utah.
Utah. It's a bunch of white kids.
Really conservative.
So, yeah, but they really have messed up. They have Mitt Romney.
That's true.
They have some issues. I don't know what
You're right.
what it is.
You're right. I'm wrong.
Can you call my wife and see if you can get her to say that ever? So wait a minute, but she probably has Hispanic kids, she probably has black kids, she probably has Asian kids, she probably has white kids. It's Utah, she has white kids.
Yes.
But she comes out and says, I have a non-white classroom.
Yeah. So here's my question, because the ultimate end is the offing of all white people.
Right.
I mean, if you take it to the logical conclusion.
Do you think it's white people
or whiteness?
I think it's whiteness.
I think whiteness.
Yes.
And anything that they can label, because they do change the definitions frequently, as we've seen with the Merriam-Webster dictionary, or they eliminate things they don't like. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's probably the end of whiteness.
Right.
But then you think, well, if you're labeling everything and then you're changing what you don't like, you really don't ever want this to end. So this philosophy that you have is a circular philosophy, and you can't get anywhere with it. And it gives you this feeling of power, but really you just look like a hamster on a wheel going nowhere.
Because you've always got the next thing you got to fix.
You got the next thing you got to fix.
The next thing that makes you feel...
the next thing you've got to deconstruct. And the next thing you've got to solve. And the next person you've got to help. And it's on and on. It's exhausting.
Right. Okay, so here will be my example of it. And this is not a good one because I know I'm going to offend somebody. But kind of how we've... How do you say it? Well, people used to be, a long time ago, someone who had been in a car wreck or whatever, or ended up with polio, were crippled.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then so people said, I think your child may be crippled. Well, crippled became bad.
Yes.
So you couldn't say crippled. Now, this was way before CRT, way before political correctness. Right. And so you couldn't say crippled. So we went to, was handicap next?
Handicap was next.
And then after handicap,
needs.
Then it was special needs, and then handy-capable and handy, so I'm not making fun of anyone, but to your point, how the words change. So we have a word that somebody doesn't like the word because the word has, it's just not a cheery word. It's a true word. It means something.
Right.
And so we decide we don't like that word, so we get a new word. Well, the new word means the same thing as the old word that we replaced. So now the new word has a non-cheery feeling.
Right.
So we have to replace that one. And so I'm wondering with this whole anti-whiteness, and I think our viewers and listeners need to figure out that anti-whiteness is not necessarily we don't like white people.
Right.
It is we don't like Western civilization. We don't like Christianity. We don't like the nuclear family. We don't like, work ethic is part of anti-whiteness. We don't like the work ethic. We don't like the scientific method. We don't like, what's another one that's in there that people are shocked? Critical thinking.
Yeah, none of that.
None of that stuff. All that stuff has to be gotten rid of, and that is all whiteness. Conservatism is whiteness. And it doesn't matter if the person is black, if they believe in those things, they're whitey.
Right.
If they're Hispanic and they believe those things, they are whitey. If you're white and you believe those things, you're whitey.
Right.
So we're not getting rid of people. We're getting rid of a philosophy or a worldview.
Yes.
And then if they can use it to stir up racism, they will.
Right.
Just in case. But it's really about worldview. Isn't that
It
right?
is. I would agree. It's very much about worldview. And I think, we toss around the words, socialism, Marxism. Really, the root is communism because it's the destruction and the overthrow of the family and of society. Of anything that's culturally normal must be overthrown.
Right.
Because they couldn't do it.
Religion's got to be overthrown.
Religion's got to be overthrown. The family's got to be overthrown. Schools have got to be overthrown. And so you have these little seeds of anger and disagreement and discontent sown everywhere. And so that these people are constantly looking for and finding and fixing, but they're never fixing anything, and then moving on to the next thing. And so that is such a divisive, destructive worldview. And as Christians, we have no option but to fight back against it because it's antithetical to the gospel.
Right.
Because there is a standard. And the only thing they know is they must get away from the standard because they can't meet the standard. But what they don't know is that in Christ they could.
Right.
Because of Christ and his sacrifice, not on your own merit. But it is exhausting to watch these people invent the new, latest, greatest thing that we're all going to be in a tizzy about.
Right. But they have the answer at the very, very end. Well, we'll just get rid of all the differences and we'll quit arguing if y'all will just all be like us and we'll all just wear gray and we'll all just think the same thing and we'll all march together and it'll all be great and we'll all work together and it'll be the utopia. And sometimes in a moment of weakness, I feel sorry for them.
Yes.
Because I'm like, you just got to find the truth. You got to find the way. You got to find, seek light, seek Jesus. And they just refuse. And if you watch some of these people and you've seen them on Libs of TikTok or whatever.
Yes.
They really, I do feel sorry. They're crazy.
Yeah.
There's
there's
like,
some nutty people.
They really are struggling, looking for something better. And they've decided that they can virtue signal. This is their cause. They're going to make it better. And they keep passing it down to their schools or to their children. And that's how we get, what was it? The white school, the all white school?
Yes, the non-white classroom.
Non-white classroom.
Coming to a classroom near you, apparently.
Well, no one, to bring it back to Alabama, who of our elected officials are fighting all this stuff?
That is a fantastic question.
Serious.
Truly. You do wonder why they don't know more about this, why they're being led around by the AEA, which, by the way, is not conservative, and we'll have to do a whole show about that. Even though they've rebranded themselves. Here again, changing the language because they've been found out. So, let's try to pull the wool over these people's eyes again. But you do wonder why our leaders don't know more and they won't fight back. Because then you start to ask, well, then are we all related nationally through the NEA? In Stephanie Holden Smith's awesome pieces that she writes about education, there really is that link between the NEA and the AEA. So then you begin to wonder who's in our classrooms after all.
That link is tighter than the average rank and file member knows.
Yes, yes.
And unfortunately, so many of the rank and file members believe that they couldn't have as much influence unless they were tied in. And I think they could still be a body. They could still be a professional body. And be an Alabama body with Alabama values if they wanted to be.
And that gets back to what you were saying at the beginning. It's almost like you're a professional and you do this. But you said at the beginning when we were talking about ESG that it's that same mindset that we don't really want to reflect Alabama. We want to be able to say and travel in those New York elite and
Right.
California elite circles that we are as cool as you guys.
Right.
We do what you do. We follow ESG. We're all about diversity in the classroom. We may have a shameful past, and we do, but
On some things.
on some things,
Right.
it is not everything. But this is what they're doing in education. Of course, we're with the NEA.
Right.
Of course, we follow their guidance. Right. Of course, we're going to be with Castle and do what the school counselors have to say. Right. And so they're led around by that thinking instead of what you've just said, by Alabama thinking and Alabama values.
You have to wonder sometimes if they're like, hey, we're getting it done. Just look, in Alabama, we're getting it done. They don't even know. Parents don't even know.
No.
We're doing it. We're from the top to the bottom. I'll tell you this. Years ago when I failed, and I've admitted before, it's one of my greatest failings in the legislature. I had Common Core in my hand, death grip, choking the life out of it. And I let a couple people in leadership tell me, look, you just let it go. We'll kill it next year. And I let it go when I had it. So, I feel a lot of the blame. Now, was everybody, a lot of other people for it? Yes, but I had it. I had the snake.
Yeah, you did.
And I remember talking to one of those same leaders a few years later who had kind of had a change of heart, which frustrated me because his reasons for changing the heart, I sat in his office multiple days, told him all those reasons, but he didn't get it from me. So he figured it out later. He still wasn't willing to go kill it off later. But once he figured it out, and I was like, you do realize if we continue to teach all this stuff, this worldview stuff, this liberal worldview stuff, no one will ever vote for conservatives again. I said, that's the strategy. That's the plan. Why are we letting that happen? I even gave him the benefit of the doubt, saying, no one will vote for a me or a you ever again. And we're spending our tax dollars. We're allowing it to happen. We're teaching the future voters never to be for the things we believe in. And he agreed, but we still have it. Yeah. We still have it today. So it's a lot deeper. And
I agree. It's a hard issue.
And a lot of our elected officials don't want to buck some of the big business interest because the big business interests are tied in with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which is tied in with all the, the elite kind of crowd and all that kind of stuff. And they have a vision for the country and a vision for the world. And they're able to force it down even into an Alabama, which is why I think they dislike people like Governor Ron DeSantis so much because, he kind of got lucky and ended up winning.
Right.
When they almost elected that crazy Democrat who's arrested for
yes,
he was into all kinds of stuff.
And
he almost won.
Yeah.
And they acted like he was a saint when he was running, remember?
Yes, I do.
So it's just frustrating to know how the people believe and to think all of the good things we could do in this state if our leaders actually ever tried to do the things they tell us they're for when they're campaigning.
I'm thinking of two things. They are beholden to money and they are bound by fear. Yes. And as long as
they're not afraid of us.
And they're not afraid
of the voters.
Of the people.
And we haven't given them any reason to be afraid of us because we have proven as Alabama voters, all of us, that if certain groups will spend the right amount of money, we will vote the way they want us to.
Yes.
And that's all it takes. And I can remember being in the meetings going, we need to be doing, well, it doesn't matter. As long as they spend enough money. People will vote the way we tell them to, as long as we buy enough ads and we tell them to, and they'll vote that way.
Do you think people would be shocked if you had a secret camera in the meetings that you guys had? Just filming like the conversations, or if somebody were just listening, if I came in and I just happened to be on the other side of the door and you were in with some of the other leaders and y'all started talking, would people be surprised at the things that they said if they didn't know I was there?
Yes.
Would they be surprised?
But they would be surprised because they would hear their senator or their House member or their governor saying the opposite behind closed doors than they just said on the television ad 2 days before.
That is so disheartening.
I told you one of the times that they were the most angry with me. We were doing a gun bill And I said in the caucus meeting, look, all I want you to do, I helped with many of your campaigns. I helped do some of your mail pieces. I helped do some of your radio. I helped do all that kind of stuff. All I'm asking y'all to do is vote the way all your mail pieces, all your campaign pieces said you would vote. That's all I'm asking. And they were so angry. Not all of them. There's some good ones.
Right.
But just to be that angry going, I can't believe you're going to make me vote the way I said it was because so-and-so lobbyist is going to be mad at me. That's just the way it is. People would be shocked. And they don't have to, you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at our record in the state of Alabama.
Yeah. It's an excellent point.
I mean, even the pro-life bill that we passed, the strongest pro-life bill in the country, as soon as Roe v. Wade gets sent back to the states, the sponsor of the bill says, I think we might need to go back and look at it. I'm like, wait a minute, you're the sponsor.
That right there made me want to just fall out.
Right.
Because you suspect it, of certain people, but then when they come out and say it.
You're like, wait a minute,
what?
Why did you do that? There were so many times we would have pro-life legislation and people would say, just let Scott and them pass it. Roe v. Wade's never going to be overturned. Just let them pass it. Yeah. The court will stop it. And Scott will quit giving us a hard time. And so that's kind of what happened. They were like, just pass it and make it we'll look good. We'll go home. We'll tell everybody how tough we are.
We're great.
It'll never change. Then it changes. They're like, well, maybe we need to look at it again.
That's pathetic.
I'm sorry, but it is. It really shows how it works. Yeah. So people don't have to believe me.
Right.
Just look at the responses from elected officials. Look at how many elected officials say they're against Common Core, from the governor's office all the way down.
Come on,
and we
can't
get rid of it.
Can't ever, especially you can't get rid of something that's not there, Scott.
Oh, that's true. It doesn't even exist.
It doesn't exist.
It's Alabama standards,
which we made up ourselves. Right. We did not rewrite them.
I think it was on this show that we said they basically took a Toyota truck,
yes,
and put Ford rims and tires on it.
Yes.
And said it's not a Toyota truck.
That's exactly right.
It's an Alabama.
Also, you said that, and it's brilliant.
Right. Okay.
I mean, because this is exactly what it is. And so we have our work cut out for us. Then we
do. We got a lot of work.
Constantly,
but that's why we are here. That's why this is Alabama Unfiltered. That's why we are here for you. I wish Al had been here, but she missed out. So she'll have to do double duty next week. Maybe we just let her do it by herself next week.
I think we should.
That is a great plan.
She'll love that.
Let's do it. Any last words from you, Abs?
No, because then it'll bring us into a whole nother discussion of sharks. So let's just save that.
We can save sharks because they're still going to be there.
Let's save sharks.
Have you seen
Not really save a shark. I'll save my shark story.
The real shark story. Have you seen any of the pictures?
I don't like them. I have seen the pictures.
It makes you not be big on the beach.
It's the reason why I can only watch Shark Week every 10 years. And then when you find out that they're in Alabama, you're like, I am never going in the water again.
But they are not in Muscle Shoals.
They're not in Muscle Shoals.
That has a lake.
Maybe gators, but
Wilson.
not Wilson Lake.
Wilson Lake, not Lake Wilson. Okay, no gators?
They say there are, but I've never seen them.
Never seen one.
I love Muscle Shoals. Shout out to you, my people.
She wants a discount on that dinner at the revolving restaurant.
360 Grill, get it straight.
There we go. We got it. Thanks for watching Alabama Unfiltered. Like we always ask for, please tell other people about it. That's why we growing by leaps and bounds because of you and your help. Y'all have a great one. See y'all.